One.
Are we live?
Are you sure?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Welcome to episode 4 of the Revival podcast. Today I am joined by the normal regular panel, the faces that you don't probably want to see. And we have a special guest, Ustadh Aleem Bashir amongst us. Firstly, I'd welcome our special guest, Ustadh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ustadh, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, I'm very well. Thank you for having me.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Jazakallah for joining us. Inshallah, we will be talking to you very soon. Our next two guests are Ustadh Mustafa, and alongside him we have Ustadh Umar Asif, the two regular faces that we see week in, week out. We're back with a more casual podcast. As you know, we did two detailed podcasts and our audio team is having a bit of problems. So we're back with this, inshallah, a podcast on productivity. Quite an in-depth topic. I believe the guest and the panels have done their due diligence in preparing this. Yeah. So we'll move on and we'll start with Ustadh Umar, who looks the most excited. He's a good researcher, so I hope he's done his good research. Ustadh, firstly, how are you and how's life?
Alhamdulillah, life's good.
Yeah.
Lockdown is treated us very well.
You haven't done any podcasts during the lockdown, have you?
I wonder whose fault that is.
Good question, that.
Yeah. We've had many podcasts planned, but alhamdulillah, we've come down to this one today. And just can I mention, next week is going to be a very special podcast.
Yes.
In a different setting as well. We won't be here. We'll be slightly... Is it up north?
Yep.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, up north, close to Shasab. So stay tuned for that. But let's get into productivity today, right?
Let's ask Mustafa how he's doing first. Don't leave him alone like that.
I'm alright. Just getting by. Just work, come home.
Are you being productive? That's the proper question.
Here's my life. We get up in the morning, go work, come back, nap for a bit, go class, repeat it for the week. That's life.
Alright, let's start from there, Ustadh. Is that productive? Like in your definition of productivity or being a productive person, would you say that's called being productive, where you're waking up, you're going to work, you're coming back, you're having a nap, you're going to class and you come back, you're having a nap again?
But the thing with Mustafa's schedule, he's missed a lot out because he does a lot of editing. He does a lot of...
the behind the scenes
work, he does a lot of it, he just not mentioned it. So, what he said, it is true, but he's missed out all the little bits that he does.
I think napping was a secret key code or something. Yeah.
He is productive when he wants to be, like we all are. Yeah. Just like we need that bit of motivation sometimes, right? So, it's about productivity first and foremost. When you try to attain it, we need that motivation.
Yep.
So, I think firstly we need to start with that. How do we attain that motivation to become productive? In, like, for example, the last lockdown Ramadan, when the lockdown just started, I just finished from uni, just submitting my dissertation in Ramadan, and I messaged him saying, what are we doing? We've got Ihya Sunnah there, we've not done nothing, we're not being productive with it. That's when I sort of got that motivation, not by myself, but I've seen loads of other ulama, students of knowledge, they were being very active in terms of, because they knew everybody was at home, everything was online.
So basically what you're saying, the essential and first factor of being productive or productivity is motivation.
Yeah. Inspiration,
encouragement. So there needs to be some sort of a push to do something. Like if you don't have that, then as you know, like loads of time we might start something and we lose motivation, then you just stop doing it.
Yeah.
And that's completely against productivity.
But like,
right?
definitely. So but you can split these things into two, right? So I was thinking, so in a sense, this the things I mentioned was that I go work, I go class, and that's it. And then Ustadh mentioned there's extra stuff I do. So there's things that you're always going to do.
Those are like the necessities.
They're necessities, right?
Yeah.
So those are the things that you're always going to do. And productivity can come within them as well, right? But then there's things additionally that you do, that's like editing, or like for myself, but it'll be different for everybody, right? So it's kind of like you got to split into two. There's things that I have to do, how do I find motivation in them? And even if it means that, if you're going to work all the time, how to be more productive within work itself. But then, then after work and things like that, how can I use the extra, the time I have so I can give more time to family and things like that. So it's kind of like, so it's good to split both up, I think.
Ustadh, what do you think is, Ustadh Aleem here, what do you think is a means of inspiration for anyone in anything, like a general means of inspiration? Like how can someone be inspired?
I think generally you need to have what we call a why. Why are you doing something? That why needs to be there to you. So for example, now we go to work. Why are you going to work? You're not just going to work for no reason. You may even hate your job, but you're doing a 9-to-5 job every single day. You know, you're working, if you take out your annual leave, you're working in excess of 40 weeks a year. So why are you going to work? Most of the time it's to...
Seems like you're speaking from
definitely.
He put on proper faces, but like,
proper don't want this is the thing. So, you know, you're going to work every day. So what's your why? You know, for me, my why is, you know, I've got a family, I've got children, and I want to provide for them. Make sure they've got a good standard of living, and make sure that I'm living in a comfortable environment. So that's my motivation to, you know, do well at work.
And that's a motivation that won't stop.
Exactly. It's a long-term motivation, and it's going to be close to you. But then you need to also have short-term goals. So, you know, I had a motivation to buy a house. To buy a house, you have to work, you have to save up. You have to sacrifice time, you have to sacrifice your leisure, and then you have to, you know, put your effort in attaining that goal. And that goal is, you know, restraining yourself from those luxuries that you're generally used to. So again, it comes to your why. That why has to be there to you. You have to have short-term whys as well as long-term whys, and then use your time surrounding that why and doing whatever you can to meet that why. So if
that why is your motivation.
Is your motivation.
So it falls into your motivation, right? So what motivates us? What motivates us to do this podcast?
This why thing is sometimes the why is very easy. Yeah, like the why is very easy. Yeah. Like your why for working, etc. But sometimes you want to do something, but you don't exactly know why you want to do it. It's just like, it's like a gut instinct that I need to do this. And if someone comes, Shasa, why do you want to do this? I just want to do it.
But those are often things that are not good, you know, that not, like for example, you have to work, you have to pay rent, you got to do. So the why is default. You whether you choose to have that why, it's there. But then things that don't have an end goal, you know, like things that don't have an end goal, like you have an option not to do it, and it's not going to affect your family, it's not going to affect anybody. You can just be lazy about it and not do it, and then to find a why in that thing, that's the hard part.
I think that's the struggle there. If you are going to be motivating those things which are non-essential, you need to really dig deep and find that why. I always say to people that, you know, a lot of, you know, you see a lot of these part-time business schemes going around. They will always push this idea of, if you're going to go out of your way to earn some money on the side, whether it's a commission-based network marketing scheme or whether it's just your own part-time business, there's a lot of things going around these days. But the stress
Trading.
Sorry, what was that?
Trading is a big one.
that is very big. And
Shall we know about that, don't we?
Yeah.
Let's not speak about trading.
Oh God, I think we've hit a note with Ustadh Umar, right? But I mean even with that, it's you need a why to do it. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to be tracking the markets. You're not going to be checking how your stock levels are if you've got a part-time business. You're not going to be able to really push yourself in spending them 3, 4, 5 hours a day.
You'll come to a standstill in it. Like,
exactly.
You'll do until what you want, and then there's zero progress.
And then you're like,
and then that's counterproductive.
Yeah, exactly. Then you're going to be putting your time into something where you're not really being productive. You're not achieving anything. You're getting more and more demoralized. And as you put more and more effort into it, you're just going to go further and further from being thinking you're in a position of being productive because you're doing something, but not necessarily actually being productive.
That brings on to one point that I just mentioned to Iyaz on the way here. Iyaz is, by the way, Mustafa's younger brother in the car. I said to him that for you, is busy and productive the same thing? Is being busy and being productive? Don't look at me like that. It was his question. All right, I'm stealing his question. He asked me first and I passed it on. So it's Mustafa's question. Is being productive and being busy the same thing?
No.
Ustadh, Aleem, whoever.
No. I mean, I think one thing that I've always been taught is work smart.
Not hard.
Don't work hard.
There's that saying there's that post that goes out that people like Bill Gates, when they hire someone, they don't want to hire somebody who works very hard. They want to hire somebody who works smart. So somebody who finds an easy way of doing the same thing, puts less effort, but he still gets it done. Yeah. So working very hard and working very busy is not always as wise as people make it to be. Yeah. So it depends on how you approach it.
I think there's a perception there, isn't there? You know, put time and hours into something, and then you will attain something, but that's not necessarily the case. You could put, hours and hours into something which, has had no benefit to yourself.
Like, you might put loads of, like what you said when they hire, both of them contestants or both of them employees, they'll both get the same thing done, but one guy will take 6 hours to do it, one guy will do it in 1 hour.
Exactly.
So for 6 hours, this one's going to say, I've been busy, I've been really busy, I'm trying to get this done. That guy, 1 hour, he's got up, he's done it, and he's
finished,
off.
he's gone off and gone home. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So being busy doesn't necessarily mean being productive.
Maybe you're overworking yourself. Maybe you're not planning your time out. And, and often you start neglecting things. Then
I think there's a perception, especially in our society, in our sort of what would you say, our capitalist society, that there's a sort of a theory of a meritocracy where you're going to work hard and you're going to attain something. But that attainment doesn't necessarily come from working hard. It comes from putting your time and effort into something where you can actually into the right place. Yeah, exactly, where you're actually going to achieve something and produce something or get somewhere within your sort of your aims and objectives or whatever it is that you are trying to do.
And I think, going back to your point, like in terms of when you're saying, why we're doing productivity and stuff, like since lockdown, like a lot of people got furloughed, a lot of people have been home, and then a lot of people have started to do their own things, as in their own businesses and things like that. And I think that's where they've tried to find the whys. Well, like, why am I going to do this business now? I've got the time, I've got the means to do it, I've still got money coming into my account, and I think it's important, like to for them to realize, because I've seen loads of people trying to set up businesses, but it's I'm just going to do it, I'm just going to set it up. And I think to really see why they, they want to do that, I think it's important.
No, 100%.
So, like for example, if there's something you need to do, firstly you find the inspiration, you find the motivation, and you ask yourself the why. What do you do after that?
I think then I would say you need to have a plan. And you need to set short-term goals as well as long-term goals.
That comes down to time then, doesn't it? Managing your time.
On the topic of time management, again, we were speaking to Yaz beforehand, and he's like, everyone's going to tell you to manage your time, write a schedule down, I'm going to do this. Who actually does it though?
I actually need to do it. If I don't do it, I can't function. And it's simple. Like you just pull out. I've got a Samsung, so you get Samsung Notes, and you just write down what you need to do for the day.
You do that every day?
Not every day, but I have
on busy days.
On busy sort of, if I know I've got certain jobs to do in a week. So for example, now I've recently bought a house, so I've got a lot of housework that I need to get done. So I know that I need to buy plasterboard, I need to buy this, I need to buy that, I need to do this, I need to do that. So I make a list of everything I need to do for the house. Then I know that where working, I've got certain jobs that I need to do for work. I need to make sure that I get past a certain point where these jobs are completed, so I'll be held to an account. So I need to make sure I've got a list of that, so that'll be separate at work. Then I've got my personal sort of goals and aims that I need to get to. So I have a sort of a short-term sort of task that I need to complete, and then long-term, and then the rest
and that works for you.
So that works for me.
So you have some sort of force at the end though, like there's something that's obviously saying I have to do it, because for us sometimes it's like, but I can do it next week. If it won't make a difference.
If it's written down, you will eventually get around to doing it.
Because you're going to be looking at it.
You're going to be looking at me like, I haven't done this, or I haven't done this, I haven't done this. And there's something, yes, you're going to eventually kick yourself and say, right, I can do this in 5 minutes, let me just quickly do it. I can do this in like a couple of hours, let me just quickly do it. I've got spare time now, let me just go ahead to the shops and buy these certain items that I need. Otherwise, you'll end up forgetting. And then when you go back to whatever you're doing, so if I go back to my house, I'll be like, I forgot that.
Ustadh, what do you think? Do you use the time management thing? No. You don't. How do you get by
I try to make the most of my time. At this, on the way here, I was thinking, okay, time is a big factor in productivity, because you need to plan your time to be productive. So I was thinking, like, Islamically, how do we come about, like, in terms of explaining time? And then I thought of Surah Asr, that look at the importance Allah gave to time. Many people, when they translate Wal Asr, they translate as by the time itself. That this is how honored time is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He takes an oath by it.
Yeah.
Some other mufassirun, they'll explain it differently, that it means a different time, but overall everybody agrees that it is a time.
Indeed.
So how is it that, look, in Islam time is honored so much that God Himself, He takes an oath by it. So now we as Muslims need to show importance to time. Now it comes down to how. So Imam Sahib has his list. What do we have? I'll be honest with you, I don't know. It's that with me, if I need something doing, most like 9 out of 10 times I'll try to get it done straight away. But then If I do
you're a
that,
last minute person. I think me and Mustafa would agree to that.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
turned up. The podcast was going to start at 7:30. He turned up at
7:33.
7:28.
yeah, look, I'm very productive with my time. Even with like the Surah 3 course,
Yeah.
it was a good course. Don't get everybody who said that.
Yeah.
When did you
terms of-
prepare that course?
Eh?
When did you?
I spent like 1.5 day on it.
Which day was it? The day before.
It was half of Friday and then the full meal, mostly full
So
Saturday.
would you say
But-
you're more of a guy who knows how to manage your energy rather than your time? So you know when you're gonna be, you know when you're
Yeah.
most proactive.
I don't like doing things before they need to be done. I'm not a last minute person, but I don't like to overburden myself. Think, oh look, this is over my head. I need to do this. I need to do that. When the time comes to it, you'll do it.
So pressure helps you.
Yeah. Like look at uni. My whole uni life, I've done so many all nighters in uni. Like the night before, 4,000 words needs to be done. Imam Sahib. Yeah, 4,000 words. They are getting done in those 12 hours I'm at uni. They're getting done regardless. Because until I've not got that pressure above me, I'll think, leave it. It'll get done.
But it is like that for many people. It's like
Is
that.
this the right kind of advice you should be giving to uni students?
No, but honestly,
I've got a degree.
The thing is, right, you could go into university at the time in it, so it's
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, you're all together, you all make it work.
Yeah.
Now, you know,
Yeah,
now
in
students-
lockdown, to be fair, in
now
lockdown,
students have to stay at home.
when I was doing my dissertation in lockdown, I tried to plan it. So I had about a month to do my dissertation, even though I made a 7-month plan. So I had to do that. But in 1 month, but in reality, even then it didn't work for me. I did my dissertation, 10,000 words, in like 4 days.
Yeah,
But
don't
it's
do
just
that.
that because
Don't do that.
it works for some people.
no, but then he's raising a valid point. There's two types of people in it.
Yeah.
One that will need that pressure.
Yeah.
Like I say, I'm the same as Ustadh Umar. Like the Surah Ikhlas course,
Yeah.
I provided that literally the night before.
Yeah.
I made all
Yeah.
the slides, everything. Like I could have done it 2 weeks before, but then I had other things to do.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's then
yeah.
you have to prioritize which one needs to get done first and etc. But like for some uni students, I was talking to Ayaz, he's still in uni, and I said to him that, for example, if you do have an assignment that you need to submit, how would you go about doing it? He said, firstly, you'll get the assignment brief. Yeah. When I get that, that's when I start thinking. I'll read the assignment brief, and then obviously I've not been to uni, so I have to ask other students. Yeah. I'd read the assignment brief, and I'll make my mind up, like mentally prepare yourself to what you need to do.
Yeah.
I understand, and then I'll do a bit of research and stuff. Then I'll put it down.
Okay.
I'll put it away,
Yeah.
and then not do anything. Don't even look at it, but just mentally prepare that I'm going to be
Think about it.
writing this
Yeah,
essay.
yeah.
And then when it's like the last week left of writing it, then I'll start writing and then I'll smash it out.
I think I was quite lucky in that. I mean, I did a degree in economics, so the way my assignments were sent, they were sent out particular weeks. So week 6 one, week 7 the other, week 8 the other, week 9 the other, week 10 the other. So what I tried to do was I tried to complete one before I got the other. But I know many students, some of the students, they would wait till the last week and then they be able to just work out 4
There's wisdom in
assignments.
that. You know why? Because a lot of people in the course would have done those assignments. People like to share in uni, so people would share their assignments with you.
Subhanallah.
You have a lot of things to learn from.
That's-
Hypothetically, of course, people have told me about this. I'm not admitting to anything here. You know what I mean? So
Very motivational.
Very motivational. I think it's like.
I'm not sure he should be on this
Yeah,
podcast.
I
to
don't
be
think
honest.
so. I don't
He's-
think
he's
so.
giving the complete opposite advice
yeah.
of what we should be
To
giving.
be kick him off or something. Yeah.
Student affairs, is this ethical?
I suppose helping your brother is ethical. I suppose.
of course.
Yeah, so long as there was no plagiarism, I suppose it's
No,
fine.
none of that.
And I guess when you used to do it together, I think that
Yeah.
helps as well. I think you
I think
push
when-
each other to a deadline.
To be honest with you, I used to hate doing group work because I used to end up being the person who did all the work. So it was one of them. There was always one person who did all the work. The others are sort of just waited around for.
No, but for some people, like, it's part of being productive. Like, I know me and Mustafa, like, if I need to do work and he needs to do, we're doing 2 completely different things. But if I go to his and sit in his apartment together and do it, we'll get more done.
Get more done,
Because as long as I keep working, he's not going to stop.
He's not going to
You
stop.
know,
Same
you
for
don't
me,
know
if
what
he's
happened
keep-
one night,
Yeah.
We've done.
Yeah.
We've,
Get
what
you
did we do? We did 8 hours, literal constant work. I was doing my own thing, he was doing his own, but we
Finished
got
the
it
whole
done.
website one night.
Finished the whole
Ihya
website. The
website.
Ihya
Yeah.
website was done in one night, by the way.
Yeah, so-
I
So
suppose
for some people that
yeah.
works,
I mean, it
but for
depends on your
others they
character.
can't work
I
with
mean,
other people. They want to work on their
yeah.
own in silence. That's why people go sit in libraries where
Yeah.
it's they're completely isolated.
Like, if you go to Bradford Uni, like floor one, wow, that is not the place to work. That's why I'm sure they've made it, put on shelves everywhere now.
Oh,
so
wow, okay.
People have to find different places.
Yeah.
But so it depends how you work.
So Aleem, we sound like the last minute guys. You're not. So
Yeah.
just give everyone the
I think it depends. I mean,
Give the real advice.
with me, you know, my schedule at university. I remember having 1, 2, 3. I had 4 jobs at university. So I wasn't somebody who used to attend all my lectures, but I used to get to university at 8 a.m. every day. I would, make sure I had all my work done by 3:30. Well, I had to make sure that because I was starting teaching at 4 till 5 I was teaching at one place, 5 till 7 at another place, 7:30 to 9 we were at class, and then 9 till 10 we had another class, and then if I did get a chance to go to the gym, I did try to go. Not that you can tell now, but
It's been a while.
It's been a lot. Yeah, I've got married now. It's okay now.
I hope your wife's not watching.
But yeah, this was my schedule. So it was about, if I don't do it, if I don't get my work done now, then I'm not going to get tomorrow. I'm not going to get next week, and then I'm going to fall behind. It's going to pile up. It's going to be a lot of pressure.
So again, then you did actually end up getting the work done because of pressure.
Well, yeah, I suppose it was due to the pressure, but I think managing your pressure is something, because a lot of university students, they struggle to manage the pressure.
And for us lot can handle the pressure. We need the pressure to be there to get it done. But other people, if they get that pressure, they'll just stress out and they won't get it done. So for them kind of people, they need to understand that pressure doesn't work for you.
Exactly.
But pressure makes diamonds. Have you not seen that saying? It's because all that pressure that diamonds are formed.
All right.
Okay.
Are you a coal miner or something? You work in mines?
Right. So motivation and the why, time.
Manage your time. Thereafter.
Time. Where do we move from this?
I think pressure.
Pressure. Yeah. But also looking at, like, obviously productivity now, I don't know, or whoever, but now would you say if let's say today I sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna actually try being productive from now on and make a schedule or whatever. Now you're gonna say plan a week, plan a month, or am I gonna say I'm gonna do it per task?
I think you need to be very careful when you use the word plan. You don't want to be spending all your time planning. This is a big thing.
That rings so many bells. We'll get to that. The question which is upcoming is, why do people have so many meetings? We'll get to that.
Well, I completely agree with you. I mean, no matter where you go, whether it's politics, whether it's university, whether it's projects, Islamic, non-Islamic, you're going to constantly be in meetings asking people, have they done something, have they not, and what we intend to do. And the problem that you find is that you end up having so many meetings that you don't have enough time to actually do the work, because by the time you've had the meeting, you need to get the minutes, you need to prepare the minutes, send out agenda, ask for agenda items. So that's one person's job taken. The other 2 people are trying to figure out agenda items and trying to figure out what they need to do and how they need to do it. And by that time, it's the next meeting.
So meetings are more or less counterproductive. Then.
Yeah.
That you think, okay, you've been to plenty, you've been in different institutes,
Yeah.
places. You thought, okay, what?
Just give us a brief about what Ustadh actually does, so then people know why we're targeting these questions. Is that how much you do? You've lost track.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Give us a breakdown since uni.
Since uni, what have I done since uni? So
Did you say he was the head of the council or something?
He's done so many things at uni. I thought, I'll take the whole podcast. So let's ask him after part.
Currently, on the weekends, Imam Sahib is the Imam at Masjid. So they lead all 5 prayers there. So that's one of their main responsibilities. Aside from that, and aside from your actual work, what else?
So I'm involved with Momentum. So
What's Momentum?
Momentum is they're a political organisation, left-leaning political organisation who try to work for a Labour government. But not only work for a Labour government, but work for a Labour government that supports the people that are on the grassroots. So make sure that
the original Labour.
The original Labour, yes, indeed, and the original Labour that provides for the working class and provides a movement and a voice for people that are what we would say at grassroots level. Within the community.
What's your role?
So I am currently a secretary for the Bradford District Momentum. So that's one of my duties that I am carrying out. I'm a father of 2 boys.
That should be top of the
That should be top of the list. I thought I better mention that if my wife's watching, I'll get into trouble. Then obviously I'm Imam at Howard Road Masjid, so I'm a part-time Imam there. So I'm currently leading 10 prayers on the weekend, and then I also do Jummah as well at the moment. So
and then you also
Yeah.
teach.
Even I've lost track.
I'm also teaching at Al Markaz Ul Islami on the weekends as their part-time Aleem course. I'm only teaching the foundation subjects, but that is another sort of task in itself. I am also going through house renovations, trying to move in. So that's been quite.
Alhamdulillah, my life.
Yes,
We don't do anything,
indeed.
Oh, we've got so much to do now.
And then I've been trying to attend a class, but
Every week.
will not mention that I've been struggling to stay in the WhatsApp group at the moment. So I do need to get back to my studies as well. So it's hopefully once I've moved into my house and I've got some space and one thing's been taken off my to-do list, I'll be back at class, inshallah.
So what was the original question before we had a nice biography?
So you said avoid the word planning.
Yeah.
But what I was saying is, let's say, shall we go by task, or shall we think, okay, I'm going to look at a week, or am I going to look at a month, and then am I going to include family thing? What am I going to include in this?
I think what I try to do is every single day I try to spend half an hour at least with family. Okay. Trying to exclude sleep, as that doesn't count. Although that's 8 hours at home, I try to convince my missus that I'm spending at home. So So obviously, but it gets a bit difficult. So spending a bit of time with your children, doing some activities. Obviously, it's something which we don't do, and traditionally we haven't done in our communities. So I do try to spend a bit of time with my children, doing at least 1 or 2 activities with them on the evening. With that being said, when you're teaching, you have to prepare something.
Yeah, definitely.
You have to have some sort of plan, even if it's 1 evening or 2 evenings.
You know, when you plan.
Yeah.
So when you teach at Markaz,
Yeah.
when do you plan for it? Like, do you days before, hours before?
So
Minutes before. Or during the lesson.
Those who have done stuff with myself will know I used to send the PDFs, just to write 3-4 o'clock in the morning. Just be teaching about 11, 12 o'clock.
Yeah. So
The Markaz is just late night.
what I try to do with Markaz is that because it's a foundational, so we're teaching the effectors of Nahu. So what we try to do is get the children to repeat, write the notes, write the effects, and try to memorize off by heart. So in terms of myself, what I try to do is try to go over that particular ruling, that particular type, so that I know that for the coming lesson, I'm going to know it off by heart, because anything can happen. Sometimes a student will ask you questions and you'll just forget the most basic of answers. So you need to have at least done 15 or 20 minutes so that you know that one type. So if you've got 13 types, over 10 weeks you have to teach it. Some lessons you teach 2 types, so you're going to spend maybe half an hour, 40 minutes. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of time. So taking that out, I'm working full time. So, by the time you've got home, you've had something to eat, you can get to about, 7, 8 o'clock. So from then on, it's about spending half an hour with your children, spending a bit of time planning for the weekend, and then making sure I've got a sort of, if I'm involved in any projects or something, or like I had a podcast, so then I knew that I need to prepare something for this, and I may get asked a couple of questions.
What did you prepare then?
So I went over a couple of ayat of the Quran, and a couple of hadiths which I put into my head. Now we haven't got into that at the moment, and thankfully, but it's something which, if you don't prepare enough, you will forget.
Yeah.
And especially, I'm not a Hafiz of Quran. So when you're a Hafiz of Quran, there's a lot of blessing, and you see that in the students.
You're also doing hifz, right?
I was doing hifz. We won't talk about that at the moment, but I was doing hifz for a while. I managed to learn sort of the first quarter of the first para, but again, once you start to learn a quarter, then it's about, do you get time to do your manzil? Do you get time to go over it? It all adds up, and it gets difficult. And then when you're sort of reading to your teacher, you can sort of hear the frustrations through the phone. Depending on who the teacher is, that's one thing.
So we definitely have to give credit to those who are Hufaz, who actually go
honestly,
through this every single day, reading your manzil, reading your sabki, reading your sabak, everything. It's very... People think it's easy.
No.
People think like Dars Nizami really hard. Hifz, go on, just do Hifz.
I would
Hifz
say,
is also very difficult.
say Hifz is on another level, because Hifz is something which you have to do.
Yeah.
You know, Dars Nizami, you can get away with not doing it.
Mm.
And then eventually you'll get asked a question and you'll get tripped up.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. But you can continue with the next lesson and continue with the next lesson. You may not be participating as well enough, or you may be getting sort of further and further behind, but you're still part of the lesson.
Mm.
In Hifz, if you forget your manzil, your ustad's going to be sat there saying, you don't know it.
Yeah.
Start again.
Start again.
Start again.
Oh, you still don't know it. Okay, start again.
Mm.
And then you're stuck at that point. You can't go forward, and you have to memorize and go over and go over and go over, and you have to put the time in. And you know, sometimes 1 or 2 lines will come to you just like that. Sometimes it'll take you half a day.
Mm.
So you're constantly going over it. So that became quite difficult. So with myself, I had to prioritize, and I had to remove certain things from my sort of daily routine to accommodate them. And that's something, unfortunately, you have to do. And you have to be willing to adapt and change.
I guess that's one big thing about being productive is you have to prioritize things.
You have to prioritize.
If you don't, and you're just doing 200 things, you'll end up acting like you're busy.
Yeah.
But in reality, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not busy because you're doing things which don't really need to be done.
Exactly. And the thing that you'll end up doing is that you'll end up doing the low priority things because they're easier, leaving the high priority things, and then creating problems for yourself in the future. So, I mean, with myself, I knew that the house, I need to get renovated. Lockdowns didn't help. A lot of the Asian businessmen bought all the materials and started extorting everyone. Yeah. So you know, So you know, you're having to drive to different cities to get materials. Then you're having to get the builders in, and then builders are like, yeah, I'll do the work in 2 days and spending 2 weeks. So it becomes problematic. So this is the thing. So I knew I had to prioritize that. So I prioritized that, and I thought, right, let's get this over and done with. So we're getting on with it now, and hopefully I'll be moving in soon. I've been saying that for a while now, and inshallah we'll call you.
Just going back to your point, when you said that you 30 minutes, 40 minutes there and doing this task and that task. Now, what's the kind of environment you put yourself in when you're doing it? So, for example, you know that you need to do this for your class now. So, let's say you're sitting on a desk, or I don't know what you do.
So you have to think about it realistically. I know now if I go home, I've got my son there. He's 2 years old. If I pull out my phone in front of him, I'll have a problem. If I pull out my laptop in front of him, I'm going to have a problem.
Yeah.
So I know, in between namaz on the weekend, I've got a bit of time. I've got my phone. We've got internet now, on our phones. We've got such ease on our phones now. So do your research on your phone. Go over what you can on your phone. Spend that time by yourself. Then I'm going inside my house. I've got half an hour. Let's spend it with my child. Spend it with the family, wherever you can spend it, whatever you can do. And then the rest of it is just about managing yourself, because at the same time what we don't factor in sometimes is eating, sleeping, and doing the sort of the necessity as a human, what a human requires, for example. And if we try to push that to a side, then we have problems, because you need to put that half an hour away for eating, because if you're not, for example, in a healthy position yourself, you're not going to be able to do the things on your task list or whatever you've got to do to be productive. And it's like what they say: you have a big breakfast, a smaller lunch, and a smaller dinner. Unfortunately, I think we have it the opposite way. Unfortunately,
no breakfast.
No breakfast. Skip it.
2 big munches.
By the time it gets to Zohr, we haven't even had lunch, and then we're having a cup of tea after Zohr, and then an evening meal, and that's the end of it.
Like often, well, it was our work. So, because at the end of our work, we get something called playtime, immediately, and we get to.
He's still in year 2.
So that's what they call it. And basically, they make us watch different podcasts every day, and lectures and things like that. Now, and they put the one I was listening to, and it's such a simple point, but the way he explained it was quite good. And it goes, just turn your phone off when you're doing things, because we think that you get into this thing where you think, something's going to happen, someone's going to message, I'm going to miss something important. And in reality, you don't. Like in reality, if you really think about it,
Yeah.
It's never going to be the end of the world if your phone's off or your phone's away,
Yeah.
even if it's not
Yeah.
near you. Yeah, we try to work and stuff. We pick up the phone every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
And
very
you-
counterproductive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Because you pick it up, you just want to check a notification, but you
Yeah.
end up spending 20 minutes on it.
Yeah. I think I'm like that as well. You know, something will come up on social media, and you think, right, let's check that, and you end up reading it for another 20 minutes, half an hour.
You end up doing other things.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
no,
it's
100%.
important to really just be like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna turn it off
Yeah,
no matter
yeah.
what, and I need to finish this, and after that I can do what I've done.
I think that one of the issues here is that sometimes our luck is against us.
Yeah.
The times that we have been away from our phones, it's been something important. The times that we're sitting in our hands, it's never anything important. This is the issue.
No, I understand.
So we're always sort of thinking, oh, there's going to be something
But there isn't.
important,
Yeah.
but there's not going to be. But you know, the moment you put it away, something important comes up.
Yeah, because one of the intentions me and Sasa's made is because after class we usually spend a lot of time just chilling and
Yeah,
we have
Playing
things in
FIFA.
mind. We have things in mind. Oh,
Yeah.
we're gonna do this.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
gonna do that.
Uh-huh.
But then now we told ourselves that look, we're gonna do an hour's work.
Yeah.
That's it. No more than an hour. No less than an hour. After that, we can play FIFA till we want. You know, because now, because you mentally you know that you've
Yeah.
got the time after to chill,
yeah,
and mentally you know it's only an hour. It's
only
not
an hour.
because what we used to is when we do think, oh, I'm gonna be productive.
yeah, yeah.
You end up doing 6-hour shots, 7 hour
Yeah,
shots.
yeah.
But
Then that puts you off next time.
Well, I remember this at university. Actually,
Yeah.
my lecturer used to say the human brain can only concentrate for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
45 minutes.
Okay.
That's why
We're gonna cut our time down now.
No, honestly, I say that even everywhere I
Yeah.
go to do a talk, I say I'm not going to speak for more than 45 minutes because that person sitting in front of me,
Yeah.
he's not going to
He's not
listen.
gonna listen.
After 45 minutes, he's going to zone out.
I'm not going to
So there's
lie.
no point.
I tend to go to sleep after half an hour. Whoever's talking, but it's, I don't know whether that's because I'm tired due to my days or the actual speaker is talking on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an interesting point that you make there. No, 100%.
Because even like I know a few taxi drivers, so they won't work for months. Like sometimes they'll take 4 to 6 weeks
Yeah.
off. Woman knows. But then, when they're working, they'll do 14-hour shifts, 15-hour shifts in that week.
I've seen
And
that.
you know, you tell them, look, just do 6, 7, 8
About
hours.
staying consistent,
Every day.
small
Yeah,
but
yeah, but
consistent.
Let's see, back to the hadith sharif.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
But this is the thing that the Prophet ﷺ told us. He goes, you know, value your time before you lose it, and this is what it comes down to. But I suppose it's how
I guess
do we value?
time, if you understand time, you'll be productive.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the
Value.
essence. And a very good book on time, Ustadh, Qimatu Zamani Inda al-Ulama. Ustadh's your bookman, by the way. If you need any books, just hit him up. Sheikh, what was that name? Yeah, Sheikh Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda. It's been translated in English as The Value of Time.
Value of time.
When I started my Dars Nizami class, I didn't start the class until everybody had read that book and they've written a review on it as well.
Oh.
Because if they're not going to understand time, they're going
Yeah.
to think, oh, it's just a class, it's only an hour. So, you know what? Because sometimes we as teachers have to do things that we don't really want to do, but we have to do. Like, for example, I would never, ever record a lesson and leave it on for playback later. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if I'm going to sit in that class, I might join, but I know, all right, I'm going to be able to watch it later.
Watch
You
it
know
later,
what? Let me
yeah.
just quickly text him, or let me
Yeah.
just make a call 5 minutes,
Yeah,
go here,
yeah,
go
yeah.
there. And you've got that thing in your head that you'll be able to watch it later, but in reality, you're not actually
You're not
ever
gonna
going to go
watch
back
it,
to
yeah.
it. But then we have to do certain things like that. But making them read that book, and obviously I even read some of the reviews to Mustafa. Some of the reviews were very, very.
In-depth.
One of them was absolutely
I think
amazing.
we'll publish that.
And we were planning on publishing it, but then we got counterproductive as well. So that will
We
be
should really
released
follow
soon.
the article to
But
Yeah.
it was a really good article where the brother said that some of the, in that book, he talks about the lives of the scholars. And one thing he picked up
Yeah.
on as well, what you literally just mentioned, was that even though the scholars, they had to eat,
Yeah.
they had to drink, they had to do exercise and certain things.
Yeah.
But even in them things, they wouldn't literally just sit there just eating and looking at it. What they do is they'd eat and read at the same time.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
book here, reading.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
now it's even easier. You don't
You
even
got
need to
your phone.
physically hold the book.
Yeah,
Just
exactly,
play it.
exactly, yeah.
If you want to listen to a
Yeah.
podcast whilst you're driving,
100%.
so many hours people drive.
Yeah.
You're driving to work every day. What do they play? They
What do
play
they play?
songs.
Songs and- yeah,
someone
yeah,
might be
yeah,
playing
yeah.
notes and stuff. So that's good, but instead do something where you're actually going to learn something.
No, completely agree.
Listening to a
completely agree.
podcast whilst
Well,
you're driving.
It's a funny thing that actually, when I started my hifz, I actually started on the train.
Listening to it on the train.
No, I was reading on the train. I was because I had an hour journey from here to Manchester,
I see.
so I started my hifz, and that's
What
how
would you normally be doing in that
I would
time?
have probably just slept. I'm not gonna lie. But it was the matter of, I think one thing that I've done in my daily routine, I've cut down my sleeping. The body can survive on 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Why are we sleeping more? That's one argument.
Now, Imam al-Haddad mentions in his book of assistance that 8 hours of sleep is more than
enough. This is the thing, more than enough. I think nowadays I'm sleeping more 4 or 5. I wouldn't recommend that, but
Look at his eyes.
but 6 to 8 is somewhere where we need to. I think is a healthy amount of sleep. And if we're sleeping that much, then we need to really think about ourselves. Because I remember even when I was younger, 16, 17, sometimes you sleep all day. You know what I mean? You wake up especially in the summer when namaz is so long. Fajr in the morning.
Ages.
You wake up.
Tell me about that. That's
stay
paradise.
You stay awake till 2 a.m. Read your Fajr, and then that's it. You go to sleep till about 2 p.m.
One of the examples of being productive in terms of ulama, look at Imam Nawawi.
I was literally mentioning yesterday.
45 years, ulama say he would have 12 lessons a day more or less, and then he'd revise for those 12 lessons and say that his sleep was such that certain people do record it that he'd have a book in front of him, there'd be a pillar there in front of him. If he dozes off, his head hits the pillar, that's his sleep.
Wow.
They went into his room, what did they find in his room? Mouth was written all over his room. Imam Nawawi, he was that person that his life was so short, but look at the books that he's
productive it was.
Yeah.
Look at his work. Alright, Arba'in is one work.
Yeah.
Riyadh al-Salihin, Al-Azkar, Tibyan, Al-Minhaj, and these are all works just on hadith.
Yeah, exactly.
Never mind the Shafi'i fiqh.
Yeah. If you calculate the amount of hours it takes a normal person, it doesn't add up, does it?
Doesn't add up.
His age,
Doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up. Again, that's obviously a karama of his and a blessing from Allah, but still, it's a lesson for us to be like, again, exactly what it is. That it's not about putting loads of hours into
Exactly. This is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
But I think it's about us. I think in this day and age, we don't value our youth. When you're young, you've got a sharper mind. You need to really pick up those skills that you can. A lot of people do this. If you think about even the way the Western world is structured, it's structured so you do your schooling, your GCSEs, your A levels, your degree. By the end of your degree, you should have some sort of mastery, some sort of skill. Yeah. And even if those people who don't go to university, they'll do an apprenticeship, they'll start working. You'll get experience during that time. You get 4 or 5 years experience working. You will master some sort of trade. And that's done in your youth. And even those hufaz who are very very good hufaz and have a very good manzil, for example, they became hafiz al-Quran at a very young age, maybe 10, 11 years old.
Now, going back to Imam Nawawi, one of the examples that just came to mind of how he was productive was that in his hadith books, one of the specialities that he does is that he cuts out the full chain. He doesn't include no chain. He includes the rawi's name, the narrator's name.
Yeah.
And that was he was one of the first ulama that pioneered this. And from his time, loads of ulama have carried it on. But look at the amount of time he saved himself from, first of all, writing every single name.
Yeah.
And that would have been for a normal person, like a book like Riyadh al-Salihin. It should be a book which is in every home, every person.
Like most of the hadiths that Imam Nawawi mentioned, you can find the full chains of transmission in the bigger book.
Well, exactly.
It's only taking so that a smart mind to do that of saving time but still getting the work done.
Well, this is
he's referenced everything in it, Rawah al-Bukhari. So he's telling you, if you want the full thing, look there, but to save time, I'm only writing
this.
You want to bring you back to a point. When you said you did your hifz on train. Yeah. You don't travel on train anymore, do you? You still do it though?
So I'm still traveling on train, but the times are shorter.
So I was just thinking, so was it the time that made you do the hifz?
Or was it the train?
Sorry, was it the train or what was it? So the reason I'm saying this is because it's important, because it it's kind of like sometimes you're feeling your time. Yeah. Sometimes you want to do a task.
So I still have this thing in me that I want to become a hafiz al-Quran. Yeah. Right. So now my plan now is shelved at the moment, but my long-term plan now is to become a hafiz al-Quran. The way that I'm thinking about doing it now, and I'm just saying this for everyone's benefit, is taking a sabbatical from working. So saving enough money where I can provide for my family, and then going somewhere abroad maybe for a year. That might mean I was thinking more Turkey, but Mauritania will be fine. Somewhere close, but in the Sahara. But I whether that's me taking one of my sons with me, I don't know. But it's the way I've saw it is that if I can take out 6 months of my year just to focus on hifz,
that's it.
I reckon I could complete it. And that's constantly doing hifz, and that's doing nothing else but my hifz. So that's my plan. But going back to, I started doing hifz because I've always had that thing in me that I'm not a Hafiz of Quran. A lot of people refer to me as Hafiz Saib.
Yeah.
And
I think everybody's a Hafiz.
if you've got a beard longer than a fish, I think everyone's a Hafiz. This is the problem. But so I've always had this thing that I need to become a Hafiz of Quran. And especially,
follow Allah's Rasul.
well, if I,
No, do you know, for example, like us lot, we do Jummah speeches,
Yeah.
we do public speeches.
Yeah.
Every time I do a public speech, I regret not being a Hafiz.
yeah.
Because you have to
100%.
sit there and memorize the ayah word for
Yeah.
word. Because we know
Yeah.
Arabic. I have this problem, very big problem, is because you know what you're saying, you understand the ayah. What you do is like, فَسَتَعْلَمُونَ, and you'll be like, oh, but وَسَتَعْلَمُونَ also makes sense. So is it وَسَتَعْلَمُونَ? Is it thumma? Is it fa? Like, they both make sense. Which one is it?
Recently, when we were memorizing hadith, the
Yeah.
fa and the
The
waw.
waw is
I used to ask Shasta, is it a fa or is it a waw? That's
So-
the big
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
When you're doing that speech, you think, just if I was a
If one is
Hafiz,
a Hafiz
it
of
would have
Quran.
been...
And you know, one thing I've always said is that, you know, my Arabic reading would be a lot better if I was a Hafiz of Quran. And, you know, even in class, we used to sit with Hafiz Junaid Sahib. And, you know, you say, oh, why is it like that? It comes in the Quran like that. That was
That
it.
you feel envious.
And you were like, okay.
And no, just to clarify, being envious of that's permissible. Yeah, that's a
Permissible.
good type of
Yeah,
envy.
yeah, yeah.
We're not jealous of him.
Yeah.
We make dua that Allah makes us a Hafiz.
Makes
of
us
Quran.
a Hafiz of Quran like that, inshallah. And
So in a sense, what you're trying to say is, you know, so what you're doing is a priority.
it's a
for
priority.
You. And you're gonna, no matter what, you're gonna find a way
Yeah,
to do it. Now,
yeah.
whether means you take a break
Mm.
from it, and you see that's
Yeah, yeah.
important to understand that sometimes you can't achieve something there and there. On.
Yeah, I
So
mean, the problem that I had was that
Yeah.
then going all the way to Manchester became difficult. So I started working on the train. And then my time was now work on the train, get home early in the evenings. And then it was, can I put in the time and effort in then? And, you know, I had one child then, and it was a bit younger, so it was a bit more needy. It was our first child as well, so you know, you
Still learning.
you're still learning, and you want to be you know, a bit more there. So you sort of
No, one of the points you mentioned about
Maybe active.
Allah,
yeah.
Allah, when he memorized the Quran,
Yeah.
he said that he had no time to memorize because he was just busy writing
Mm.
fatawa all day and
Indeed.
answering people's questions. The only time he had, I believe, was Qaylullah, when he used to snap after Zuhr.
Zuhr.
Yeah.
And even then, he wouldn't read it. It was Sadr al-Sharia would read it to him, and then he would read it in the Salatul Tarawih. He said, so even those like about not even an hour or so, he was said. That's why some ulama say he didn't memorize it in 30 days. He memorized it in 30 hours.
30 hours. Wow. Subhanallah.
So it was even him. He had to, because
Make time.
somebody referred to him as a Hafiz, didn't they?
Yeah,
I should become a Hafiz.
Yeah,
So to
yeah.
make his words come true, it wasn't for himself, for the other person's
But this
words
is the
come
thing,
true.
isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I think they're always.
I guess we
hadith-
should all do it because we've all been called Hafiz.
Well, I think we need to go into Saharan Desert together. Then, by the looks of it.
So when someone calls you Hafiz, do you say I'm not Hafiz, or you just allow it?
Do you know what?
To be honest,
It's
The
Hafiz
first
or
few
what?
times
you do.
you do.
You say my
And then
Hafiz name.
after you know telling them 10 times,
You're just like,
you're like, okay,
that's what
Hafiz,
you
Jalo, call me however you
No,
want.
then
now.
we do ta'weel in it. We say Hafiz of what? Okay, Hafizul Hadith in it. I know three hadiths.
I know one hadith of
I
my
know three
Hafiz.
hadiths. Hafiz. Okay, ठीक है. Yeah, I'm Hafiz Sahib. Because for them, it like Hafiz Sahib is not like a. They don't literally
It's
mean
a
like
generic
Hafiz
term,
Sahib. It's
isn't
just
it?
like we say Janab.
Well, let's not
or-
get into literal
Yeah.
meaning, shall we? Yeah. We're going to have problems then.
hot topic at the moment.
Topic at the moment, yeah.
Let's just clarify. A Hafiz in Hadith is somebody who knows over 100,000 Hadith.
Yeah, sorry. So
With
I'm
the
not.
hadith.
I was messing around.
Yeah. Don't go off the shots off. We
Yeah.
clarified it. Don't want to video making against us.
Yeah.
Right, back to the topic.
yeah.
So what were we talking?
So we've talked about.
Yeah.
We started off with. We were on passion. Time management. Thereafter, one thing that we've just talked about right now, all of it is the ambition, or the passion to actually get it done.
Yeah, sort of the why.
Yeah, the why. No, even more than that. Like you know why you want to do hifz,
Yeah.
but you're gonna go out your way to
yeah.
get time. That's hardcore ambition
Yeah.
and hardcore passion to get something
Yeah,
done.
yeah.
That's the thing that you need. And I think the last one is you
Still
just start
pra-
doing it.
Start doing it. I
And
think
before we
prioritize
start
and
this-
then do it.
Yeah, prioritize
Yeah.
and then start doing. Before you start doing it, going back to the point of planning, preparation, and meetings.
Yeah.
I personally think most of the time people overplan.
Yeah.
People have too many meetings.
Yes.
And even in the meetings, most of the time, we've all been to meetings, whatever kind, like you just mentioned, Islamic, non-Islamic, whatever kind of
Yeah,
meeting there is.
Yeah.
If the meeting is 1 hour, 45 minutes of that meeting
It's
is
just,
that,
yeah,
are you
waste.
okay? Are you
Especially our
alright?
meetings.
How's this? How's that?
Start introduce everyone to our do a bit of an art. Well, do an
Yeah,
art
but-
screen
yeah.
talent. After that, Okay, what's on the agenda? Who's got the agenda then? Then start and then.
By the time
So we can order food.
Yeah.
Then by that time you will not discuss
Yeah,
it.
just talking about food. I was thinking whenever we've had meetings, right? We'll say, okay, come to mine at 4 o'clock. What we'll eat. Right? You get at 4 o'clock. The first thing is deciding
what to order.
What to
That's
order.
longer than the
Yeah.
actual meeting.
So you're deciding for like
Yeah,
an hour
yeah,
what to eat. Then you're
100%.
waiting another 40 minutes to wait
Indeed.
for the food.
Yeah.
And then after you've ate, and plus you get unhealthy food in
Mhm.
Bradford. So then after that, you're finished. Mentally, you're finished.
You can't have a
And
meeting.
there's literally no time for meeting. So it's kind of like, okay, you know, it's kind of same. It's important to really think, okay, what's our priority here? Food. Like, you know,
Or the actual
you go to, like, you know, corporate places.
Yeah.
The food is always there. Sandwiches ready. That's it. No matter what.
I
That's
think-
what you're eating.
I think the issue. I
It's always
remember when I
sorted.
was working, when I was elected in the Students'
Yeah.
Union, and I had to attend a lot of corporate meetings,
Yeah.
and some of the meetings were like 8 a.m. to
Yeah.
5 p.m. There were
Yeah.
quarterly meetings, University
Yeah.
Council, even like Learning Teaching Committee was 3-4 hour meeting. Our evening Student Council was 3-4 hours. We knew what we were ordering. We got it ordered.
Yeah.
But one of the things that made the meetings successful was somebody keeping track of time
Mhm.
and having a chair who knew when to shut people up and when to demand action
Yeah.
and not put items on the agenda. I remember we while I was there, we had a sort of an internal review, and then a committee was set up to set the agenda
Yeah.
so that no items got onto the agenda that
No,
were just
didn't need to be discussed.
didn't need to be discussed. That was just a waste of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if it's, for example, a specific officer's, for example, role to do a job, well, he needs to do that job. He'll be held to account. If it's something random that somebody wants to ask, they can ask it in the meeting.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be an half an hour long agenda item.
Yeah.
So this is the thing as well. But I think, generally speaking, we should have enough meetings so that we can hold people to account. But we should have actionable
Meetings.
agenda points and
Yeah.
meetings.
100%.
Otherwise, there's no point having.
Because
an agenda.
loads of times, Mustafa knows, I know, I've been through it quite a few times where you want to do something and you start, like, it's a normal thing and you should. You can't just get up and, like,
Exactly,
just
yeah.
do it straight
Yeah.
away. You need some sort of plan and preparation.
Yeah.
But, like, we've had meetings and that's it.
Mm.
We've just had 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 meetings, and by then the ambition
It's gone.
that we
Yeah.
said, the ambition's gone,
Yeah, yeah.
and therefore we never actually started what we
Even-
wanted to
Yeah.
do.
Ihya Sunnah, when we first started, we stopped meeting all the time.
All the
You
time.
remember?
Weekly
No, we've got
meetings.
done.
The thing got done.
Since we stopped doing meetings, we
started
started
doing
Yeah.
it.
I mean, it's surprising. How long have we been going for? What, 5 years? 4 years?
No, 2 years.
2 years.
No. It's been longer than
So
that.
our series, we started, it was 2 years.
Yeah, but we were meeting a year after before that.
So 3 years we're on
We've been over
meetings.
3 years. Is the thing. This is the thing. So if you think about it, we've been meeting, and then eventually everyone got fed up. Right, listen, if we're going to do something, let's do something. If
Yeah.
not, forget it.
That happens
that lasts
90% of the time.
Yeah.
Where there's so many meetings that people lose their ambition
Yeah.
and they just start dropping out one
Yeah.
by one, and then you never actually start.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the other thing was that it's like before you, right? The group was big, right?
Yeah.
20 people in. You put an idea in. Everybody throws their bits in. Never gets done that way.
Yeah.
So what we've started doing now is for every little project we have,
Yeah.
we'll create a separate group for that,
Yeah.
and only people that are actively
Actively
in that
involved,
group.
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
only in that group.
100%.
So that means that, okay, it's like, oh, Muniba, have we got the camera or something like that, if we say, and it's not 20 people getting that message,
Yeah,
or
exactly.
Yeah.
you know, like that kind of thing. It's like, it's just there, and then
Yeah.
plus
You
he
get
doesn't
fed
miss
up
out.
with the
Also, he doesn't miss the message. If you have like, only 30 people,
Yeah,
Yeah,
understand.
he might just
you all
overlook
just
it.
miss it.
Yeah,
So we've started to separate all the groups, and whoever's not necessary, just be like, look, there's no point.
No point being it.
Things like sometimes people think that, okay, we know it's from the Sunnah, it's mentioned in the Hadith and the Quran that have mashwara, do mashwara
Yeah,
with people,
yeah.
take advice from people, listen to people's opinion, it'll help you. Sometimes we overdo that.
Yeah.
You don't need to listen to every single thing every single person has to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes they might be chatting bubbles, and
Well,
that's
this way-
most of the time
That's
they
what
are.
I'm saying, isn't it? Too many chiefs, not enough Indians.
Exactly.
That's the problem. Got one chief here. That's all we need.
So that again, that's counterproductive, and this is not for like the chair in the meeting to decide, but you as being part of the meeting should decide for yourself that, do I really need to say this? Is it just something that I'm saying for the sake of being part of the meeting? If you don't need to say anything in the meeting, just don't say it. If it doesn't add value,
Again, that's from the Sunnah as well, isn't it?
If it's speak when necessary.
Speak when necessary. Exactly. And that's what it comes down to, I think.
So like that's a good few tips on how to make meetings productive rather than counterproductive. And again, just start.
And also with meetings, like you have a dedicated time for
Yeah.
this set of people, this department,
Yeah.
and they're only going to speak on that.
Yeah.
Whereas what we're used to doing is 20 people and everybody
Yeah.
speak when you want, what you want,
What
and
you
then
want,
you kind
however
of
you want.
and because you think that you want to put pennies into everything,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you don't think.
If you think you want to put a
I mean,
penny,
one-
watch my
one thing
2p video.
Yeah. I mean, working in software myself,
Yeah.
and Mustafa, you'll probably know
Yeah.
yourself. There's particular ways of working. It's like
Yeah.
agile way of working. So this way of working is have iterations of what you're trying to produce. So at the beginning, you're producing something. It may not be the final product,
But you'll get
but
there.
you've released it and you've sent it to the customer.
Yeah.
Customer says, "Okay, you've given us one of the 10 items." Say, "Yes, but we've given you it."
Yeah.
And our second month, "Okay, we've got another thing now. We're going to add that. That's update 1.1. Next year 1.3, and you continuously improve, continuously add. You're adding value to the beginning.
That is the way how it works.
That's
Yeah.
the best way.
Wallahi, that is the way how
That's
it.
the
What
way.
we try to do is
Finish it all.
that's what we do.
Yeah,
We have our initial meeting
Yeah.
and we plan. Okay, so in 10 years, what if this happens?
Yeah.
Bro, you've
This is
not
the
even
problem.
started yet.
100%.
You've not even started yet. At least start first. And exactly, you start it, then you build it.
Yeah.
You build up and you progress.
And you
And
keep
here we are sitting in the second meeting thinking, okay, if in 30 years, if somebody does this, and what shall we do? Like, come on, man. You're
Yeah.
not even started yet.
But this
So
is
if that
what it
is a
comes down
very
to.
good
Yeah.
start. And then it's
Produce
literally
something.
like,
Yeah.
what's it called? Jenga. Yeah, or whatever that.
Yeah, you take one off and you put it on
you
top.
put it at the
Yeah,
top,
yeah,
you
yeah,
keep
Jenga,
taking
yeah.
out, building up, taking out, building, making it
Yeah,
higher. That's
yeah.
it's a good way of being productive rather than counterproductive.
And that's generally how most companies are moving towards now. The modern companies, they're moving towards that now. And generally speaking, if you
It
want to be
works.
productive, it works.
It works.
Yeah.
100%.
So what about so we talked about in terms of company and organization. What about people by themselves in terms
I
of
think the points that we've mentioned are also they're not just for companies, they're like universal points
Yeah.
for every individual. Like, for example, firstly, start out with, like, I think there's 5 points that we've mentioned throughout the podcast is figure out what you need to do,
Yeah.
firstly. Secondly, ask yourself why.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Then mentally prepare yourself to do it.
Yeah.
Then obviously you have to be passionate and ambitious about it.
Yeah.
And then finally, you just start doing it.
Yeah.
5
I think
and
they're the key themes.
key things, yeah, and they'll work for anybody. Like, not necessarily, you might not be someone who procrastinates. Like,
Yeah.
for example, when I gave my students to do that review of the book, I say, after you've read the book now, what advice would you give to a procrastinator? And I'm going to ask you three the same question. For example, someone who's into procrastinating and they just sit there like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. That's literally, you're not doing it, you're
I think
being
it's
very
important then,
what advice would you give to them?
But the thing is, it's different. When you're doing it for yourself, it's very difficult. When you're doing it for somebody else, it's a little easier. Why? Because you kind of have an idea what they want.
Yeah.
And I think then the other thing is important is that sometimes you just got to send a draft. Because I did when I started my freelance stuff, what I used to do is finish the product, send it, and they're like, we don't want this. Like, it's totally opposite to what we wanted. But then now you send a wireframe. Okay, this is roughly how it's going to look. And at the beginning, if there's changes, you know what, then you can change the direction very quickly. If you finish it,
That's a universal point. Like,
Yeah.
you mentioned
Yeah.
it as, it's a like, start whatever it may be.
Whatever,
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, just start and you can build it up.
Well, this is again, it's part of that what we call in software acceptance criteria. Your acceptance criteria is you communicating with your client and making sure that you make a note of what they think is acceptable, not what we think is acceptable.
that's the thing. It's not about you.
This is
It's
the
never
thing.
about you. Yeah.
Even though you'll know better,
Yeah.
but they're gonna come up with something.
Customer's always right.
Yeah, customers always right. It's like comes down to they're putting money into your business, they're putting time into you, and this, going back to someone who procrastinates, they have to find some sort of motivation. Motivation is the key to doing things, and if they don't have that motivation, then
It will be difficult.
it'll be difficult.
What about for yourself though? When you're doing something for yourself. 'Cause
Yeah.
now you're doing it for a client. Fair enough. You can figure it out because they're still gonna.
Let's say, for example, I need to write an article.
Yeah.
you have to see that as being self-development.
Yeah.
I'm writing this article so that I can get better at writing articles, so that I can learn something, so I can pick up something, so I can spread knowledge, so I can spread my message.
The topic itself has to be something which
Yeah.
you enjoy doing.
I mean, with me personally, if I'm doing something, it has to be for someone else, or it has to be for something where I'm
bigger goal.
getting benefit, whether that's financial benefit or knowledge benefit or some sort of benefit.
There has to be something in it for you.
And if there's nothing in it for me, then I find it a waste of time.
Yeah. Well, I've got a point here. Illusion of perfection. So when you do something,
Yeah.
you just think it needs to be perfect.
So this is there's actually a term for that. They call them people perfect finishers.
Perfect
A
finish.
perfectionist.
It's a personality type, a perfect finisher.
So when you say perfect finisher, does that mean
Yeah.
the rest of the process wasn't as...
So this is the thing. So there's different types of personalities, but this particular one that I've read is somebody who wants to complete the perfect job.
Yeah,
It's those people who sometimes hesitate in answering questions as well.
Yeah.
And the reason why they hesitate answering questions is that they don't have the full answer.
Yeah.
So they struggle because they don't have a complete answer. They don't want to look stupid. So this is the thing as well. But I would go back to the point that you have to have the belief in yourself and the motivation, and your why has to be important.
Yeah.
These three things.
So would you say instead of perfection, look at the purpose. Long as it's fulfilling its
Yeah.
purpose, you know,
Yeah.
that's it. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be any further.
Exactly.
You know, like I work because we're preparing a lot of like blogs, right?
Yeah.
And you got to prepare them 3-4 months in advance in order for Google to pick them up.
Yeah.
So I said to my managers, there's no point getting all 10 of these perfect. I go,
Yeah.
let's get them 70-60%
Exactly.
right? It's doing its thing. If you need to come back to it
Indeed.
and perfect them, then it's fine.
This is what it comes down
That
to.
even adds that for
But-
uni students as well.
Yeah,
Like for
yeah,
example,
yeah.
if you've already made your mind up, right, I've got an assignment, I need to get 90% on this.
Yeah.
You don't even start it, so you get 0%.
Yeah, exactly. And I think certain times, I mean, I look at some of the books, the Islamic books are published, and you know, there's a fixation on having the paper texture right. Make sure the cover is nice. Make sure the title page is nice.
Oh,
But
tell me about that.
You read the book. There's 2 full stops. There's 2 commas. There's commentary, but it's on a different page. But the quality of the book is perfect. So
You can overlook that.
you can overlook
As long as the
imperfections like that,
content's good.
but the perfection has to be in the words, in the message, in the writing. Make sure you have a professional conduct. So make sure you're double, triple checking the words of the writing, not double, triple checking the texture of the paper, or the texture of the.
This is what people are going to see.
Exactly, and I understand. You know, I'm not saying use the cheapest of the cheap paper and the cheapest of the cheap cover and put no thought into it. You know, put thought into it, put time into it, but make sure that the key message that's being presented and the key factors of that project, of that item, or whatever it is, that's what's being perfected.
So the essential part of it needs to be perfect. Well, not perfect, to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And all the extras, they can be...
They can be in your head,
Yeah.
and that comes down to prioritizing. You have to prioritize your work.
Also, I think it's important to being honest with yourself, like what you're really capable of. Because sometimes you look at other people and you think,
oh wow, they've yeah.
Am I taking a page out someone else's book here? It seems like I'm taking a page off Shassa's book.
No, I've just been getting some stares.
So you look at other people that doing similar thing and you think, I need to get to that level.
I need to get to that
But
level.
reality is you don't realize the journey
that they took.
to get to that point.
Exactly.
You know, like often I put pressure on myself with class and things, even though I should be, doing a bit more than I should. I do, but I compare myself with other students. But they already studied like 5-6 years before I even started class myself. So,
exactly.
But you
and at different institutions as well.
Yeah, different institutions. So you've got a different idea, different teachers. Whereas I've just studied one teacher. It's kind of like, but you still put pressure on yourself. But it's real. You have to realize it's your own
your own journey.
Don't measure yourself with somebody else's rule.
Exactly.
Know your own self-worth. Just because.
Don't compare.
Don't compare yourself. You put yourself down.
No, but then again, that's it
can be a
subject to person. For me, that would be a motivation. Like if I'm not doing anything, I'd look at someone above me who is doing it, and I'd be like, if he can do it, I can do it.
Oh no, that's different to put. It's you're saying the end goal in it. What I'm saying is this is where I should be right now, and it's you over pressure yourself, and then you think, okay, you know what?
That becomes counterproductive because all you're thinking about then, why is he ahead of me? Why is he ahead of me? Instead of you actually going there and also, doing something about it.
So let's say you've got an idea to do something, then also like you have loads of tools and things, and then the problem you have is people tell you do it this way, and then you get locked into a system of doing something a certain way because that's how people told you. Do this 10
you
steps.
Think outside the box.
And you just do these 10 stops and that's it. But then that doesn't work for everyone.
Exactly. That's why we are now closing moments. It's been over an hour. I was just going to say your final words. I'm not going to say, Ustadh, you give me your plan of how to be productive because it's going to be different for every single person. You just need to go out and find that thing that motivates you or that makes you more productive. And it's like a self-exploration journey. You got to find it yourself.
100%.
Just
no one's going to give you a...
Before we do that, I've just got a few things I forgot to... Salah, namaz. You're busy in your day. Now, when you get up in the morning, how do you plan your day around namaz?
So what I do is, first of all, I try to find a job where Fajr is going to be easy.
Fajr is going to be
Yeah.
easy. Okay.
So with that, you have to start early,
Okay.
or you have to start late.
Late. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's basically answered your question. He plans his day
Yeah,
around
around
Namaz.
Salah.
Yeah.
When it comes to eating lunch, I know if I'm at work, lunchtime is going to be my Salah time. I'm going to need at least maybe half an hour. So if my lunch, in my previous job, I had half an hour lunch.
Yeah.
So it was a matter of eating while I'm working and praying Salah while you can. And then my other...
Not praying whilst eating or
Yeah,
eating
not-
whilst praying.
yeah, exactly.
No, you worked at places where you worked at places
Yeah.
that are not as like run by Islamic, and yet you're still managing.
Yeah.
Often because you get a lot of excuse. It's an
Yo,
excuse.
you
Yeah,
hear it
it's
all
an
the time.
excuse.
It's literally
I mean,
an excuse.
I was working in the city centre of Manchester, right?
Yeah.
So, to go to the mosque of my preference,
Yeah.
which was either Manchester Victoria
Yeah.
Masjid or the
North Manchester
Jamia Masjid. So I had to either get a tram to North Jamia Masjid or I had to get a bus. So I spoke to my manager. I go, look, my Friday prayers, I need to go to one of these two mosques. That means I'm going to need a longer lunch on Fridays. He said,
Yeah.
okay, that's fine, work a bit later.
Mm.
So I was finishing work on Friday, sometime nearly 6 o'clock. But it meant that I had an hour and 40 minutes to go to Jummah
Yeah.
because I needed 20 minutes to go there.
Get there.
Yeah.
Then do wudu.
And not get there right when the imam's on doing
Well,
the khutbah.
Exactly. Well, it wasn't even that. I was so rushed. So I used to set off at 12:45, get the bus, get there for maybe 1:10. By the time you do wudu, because you have to wait in the queue. It's Friday prayer, so it's busy.
Yeah.
By the time you've done wudu, it's like 20 past, 25 past. You're just about getting to the masjid. Imam saying,
But you
stand
do
up
it,
for your
right?
sunnahs.
But you do
But
it. You do it.
you were
You
able
have
to
to
do it.
That's your priority.
This is the thing, and then get on a bus back,
Yeah.
back to work, and then just get on with it. And this was something which it does come to you because you find that other people they started to sort of follow rulings of other madhabs, and with combining prayer, and as a Hanafi it gets quite
You've used it
difficult.
as a loophole, haven't you?
Well, this is the thing, they use it as a loophole. Realistically, you can pray,
Yeah.
but it becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So
Then you start finding this loophole in every
well,
single
this
thing.
is the thing. I mean, for me, I know that I need to keep my wudu for the full day now. Otherwise, I'm gonna be, wudu, pray, wudu, pray. So I have to watch now my eating. I have to make sure I sleep properly.
Yeah.
I have to make sure I don't disturb my body in such a way where I'm not gonna, I'm gonna be needing to do wudu again. So you have to think about these things. People don't really think about these things, but. You have to plan your eating. Then you have to make sure you're eating right. You have to make sure you're sleeping right. You have to make sure that your salah comes first. And you have to protect your salah.
Yeah.
You have to protect your
100%.
salah.
Like when people ask, I want to pray but I can't.
Yeah.
The easiest way is you have to plan your day around
Exactly.
namaz.
I mean,
If you don't,
100%.
and you try to fit it in, chalo,
Yeah.
you might do it for a day
Yeah.
or two, but then you'll be like, can't
Yeah,
fit
It's
it
too
in.
much. I mean, I remember
I'm too
sometimes,
busy.
coming back on the train, it was Maghrib time, so I had to get off the train at Rochdale from Manchester,
Wow.
Rochdale, read salah, and run back to make sure I get onto the next train. Otherwise, I'm waiting another half an hour for the next train.
Wow.
So this is a problem.
So you did used to read on the train?
No, I didn't used to read on the
Train pe namaz jaiz nahi?
train. There was no room to pray.
There was too busy. It was
And the other
Can you pray?
ruling
Can
is
you not just pray standing up?
no, you couldn't, because if you have the ability to stop and pray your salah in a correct manner, then you should.
Yeah.
That's the ruling, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you should be doing that. But the problem is that we find every excuse not to pray.
to.
It's almost like
100%. That's what it is.
Oh, I got work. I got an excuse.
Yeah.
But the thing is, most of the time you ask, and most places, I think most places are understanding.
Yeah.
Most managers are understanding.
Yeah.
There'll be certain jobs where you're not allowed.
The thing is,
Is it not legal?
Legally,
for them?
no.
Legally.
So this is the loop policy. They have to provide adjustment, but legally they do not have to.
Mhm.
This is the thing. It's advisable. They cannot discriminate against you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's certain parts which are advice and certain parts which are legal. And unfortunately, they don't have to provide you with like a prayer room. They don't have to provide you with time to pray. They just cannot discriminate against you. It's quite vague.
Yeah.
So some people would argue, if you're not allowing me to pray, then you're discriminating against me.
Yeah.
But what I always advise people is that at your interview, you have to say, look, I pray
Make it
5
clear.
times a day, so I need time to pray.
Yeah, but then that goes down to where you work in it.
Yes.
And,
Yeah,
like,
100%.
If you know that place
No one's
is
gonna have a
looking-
problem with it.
If they're looking to motivate the staff,
Yeah.
they're thinking, you know what? If I take this one most important thing away from
Yeah.
them, they're not going to be
Yeah.
motivated. So
I
if
think there is that. But the other thing is that Our people like to take the mick as well.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So, you know,
No, that prayer break includes a fag break.
yeah.
It includes a quick toilet run.
Toilet
It
run.
includes a quick phone call home.
Phone call
So
home.
the prayer break, which is meant to be 5 minutes, is now like half an hour.
Half an hour, exactly.
Yeah, and I think it's important at that point
Yeah.
to start being really honest with your work.
Yeah.
As in, when you are working,
Yeah.
you're working really fast. You work, you work, and
You have to
you're
be on the
really
ball,
productive.
and you have to push yourself. I mean,
Definitely.
the problem that you find in this day and age, and I see it especially with young lads, is that they get into jobs at 21, 22 years old, and unfortunately they're getting discriminated against. That's just unfortunately the nature of the job. Ethnic minorities will be discriminated against. The managers are not giving them promotions. So what do? Work 2-3 years, build up so that they've got good sick leave, and then that's it. 3 months work, 6 months they're on leave. And this is a problem within our community. Why? Because they're not willing to work that 3-4 times harder than their colleagues to get to that stage. Because that's what you have to do.
But what they don't realize is long-term damage.
Long-term damage, yes.
Because as much as you
get lazy in
getting those 3 months off, in the manager's mind, I'm not going to give you promotion. I'm not going to trust you with the task because we might have a 6 months task, right? And then you're going to
take
3
sick
months.
leave, exactly.
You know what I mean? So, you do your thing. It's alright.
No,
We'll keep you on the books.
that's what you're doing for work.
Yeah.
But then you're doing it to yourself as
You're
well.
doing it to your character.
Yeah,
And
your
you'll do that
character.
with other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then tomorrow when
Yeah.
they do find a reason to get rid of you, and then you try going to a new place and you have to explain what you did in the previous place.
You're going to be stuck.
You know what I'm saying?
You should just go in and then get sick leave. We know a brother that does that.
One more thing, downtime. I think
Downtime.
everyone forgets it.
I think downtime is tricky. Unfortunately,
But very
What do you
important.
consider
Very
downtime though? First,
it depends. I mean, my downtime is staying in my car. I'm not going
So
inside.
he asked me this time. So what do you do for your downtime? I'm like, why are you asking me so random?
Oh, because I was listening to a podcast and I was listening to a podcast and the guy was talking about, and it was called The Art of Wasting Time.
Yeah.
And he was just talking about how you should dedicate time where you're doing something, like don't just sit there, don't do nothing. But it's kind of like you're doing something that you normally don't do.
Yeah.
But you're doing it without setting a goal or a kind of thing. And it's kind of like if you.
I think one thing that I do, having think about it, is that every now and again I'll have half an hour spare, and I'll just pace in my room, and I might put my headphones in. I'll either listen to a talk or I might listen to an art or something like that. But it's just just half an hour where my mind is just getting a rest.
And you're not not expecting to get something out of it. It's kind of just like okay, I need this for the rest of the day. So everything.
Just
else
something, Or you might. I've seen a lot of people, and I do this sometimes myself. Is that you just put the TV on. It's just what we call trash TV.
You literally, you're not
20
even
minutes
looking at it. You're not even listening to it.
Just on. It's there in front of you, and you're just laying down, and you're just like staring at the screen, and it's just downtime. It's like standby.
Standby.
I'm hibernating at the moment. Don't disturb.
Yeah, I mean, what I tried doing now is I've actually started to between Asr and Maghrib, when they were closer, because you had half an hour, 40 minutes, you couldn't really do anything. Once you start something, it's the time to end and go to Maghrib so I just started to drink a cup of tea. I got into a habit of that, and then I just sat there and I just drank tea, and just half an hour, 40 minutes, and it was like a
Nice
sort of
Good break.
yeah, it's like a refreshment in your sort of system, because you weren't thinking of anything. And you might just play a game on your phone or just put some trash TV or something like that, but it was just something where you just didn't do anything. So I suppose that's what I used to do. But I think that they're the sort of the two things. And then sometimes I just sit in my car, and my wife always complains, goes, "Why are you just sat in your car? Why are you being so weird? Just come inside." Why are you sat alone in the dark in the car?
No, but I guess it's that time where your brain actually takes in what you've learned that day, what you've understood.
Yeah,
that day.
yeah.
And
You need time to reflect over your day.
Yeah.
So that-
Self-reflection.
So tomorrow isn't the same as yesterday.
Yeah.
100%. What's your downtime then? What did you answer to?
He said he likes to read books, but he
I
reads
read
all the time.
But then I don't always read. I like reading, but then there comes a point that okay, let's chill out now.
So what do you do when you say let's chill out now?
You
I
can't
go
share that
out.
in public.
I can't share that.
Is that not public?
You can't share that in public.
Me, I'm not like Imams will go home, have tea. I can't do that. I have to be outside the house.
Your downtime happens outside.
Yeah.
No, he'll literally be outside my house. He'll be like, I'm coming in 20 minutes. Hour later, I'm like, he's still not here. But you look out the window.
Then I'll get
He's sitting
50% of
there.
me.
He's literally just sat outside. He's just, just like...
I'm just with the boys, with the lads.
Yeah.
So that's me. My downtime is when I'm with people.
Yeah.
But I might have that time in between that when I'm by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's good though, because you're saying you're spending people, so when you're there, innit?
Yeah.
You're not thinking about next thing, you're not thinking about that. And I think it's important to do that with your family, Aleem. Like you say,
100%.
you do that every day You 30 minutes. I'm not going
They
to
need
think
to about anything else.
That goes a long way. You think people say spend 2-3 hours, but
No,
the
you
half
don't.
an hour is so much.
Yeah.
If it's proper, half
It's a
an
bit
hour,
like having a quick nap,
yeah.
but it's a quick break in your day, and you're just doing nothing.
You need it, because then otherwise you'll end up overwhelming yourself and
Overwhelming,
overworking yourself, and that's again, I'd say that's counterproductive, because if you're gonna graft 2 days straight and do nothing for the next 2 weeks,
You
kind of
think it's
defeated the
bad habit.
purpose.
And I think what you need to think about, especially in this day and age, is your stress levels and your depression levels.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get too depressed overthinking about something, and you don't want to get too stressed thinking you need to do something as well. So there is a fine balance.
And again, to get rid of that, the best therapy for that is the Quran, or the zikr and azkar that you do in your downtime. I've seen Mustafa is literally not doing anything, just lying on his stuff and he's just listening to zikr. That's it.
But I think the issue that
it's good.
we present that to being something that it's not as well. I mean, the Quran is you taking a break from your life and just
100%.
and just spending time with your Lord. And if you think about that, that's just like, it's like meditation of the heart. It's like purifying the heart. It's about taking a break from the dunya. And essentially, when you're taking a break from everything.
Because everything.
And it's just you and your bubble.
We talk about purpose at the beginning, and you realize our purpose is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Exactly.
And if we're not spiritually checking ourselves in every day, or to somewhat, you're defeating the end purpose. So if your end purpose, regardless of what you achieve in life, if that end purpose is just out of the picture, then you know what.
I think this is what it comes down to as well, especially with your salah, is that your salah is your break. And at that moment, you need to forget everything. And the problem that we've got is that, and this is what we have, is that we're having breaks where we forget about everything, but then when we're in salah, we're thinking about everything. This is the problem.
But that's the thing. I used to get that issue, and then what I really told myself is, when I say I'm going to give whatever I know, I usually think in salah and that would distract me, I'm going to dedicate 10-15 minutes in my day later on. That's when I'm going to think about this. So now you're already dedicated, because your brain's trying to figure out empty space. So you think, no, I'm going to do it then. So now I don't need to think about that.
Think about it. Exactly.
What do you do in your downtime?
Me?
Play FIFA.
Play FIFA. No, it's just.
We play FIFA together. No, sometimes literally it's just playing FIFA. Or sometimes, honestly, if you ask my wife, she'd be like, "This guy's a bit weird," because I'll be sitting on the sofa and just looking at the ceiling. Honestly, and she's like, she'll come sit next to me. I go, "Please, I just want my own time." And she's like, "You're just looking at the ceiling." Oh, come on, what do you? And literally, I'm not. And she's like, "What are you thinking about?"
Nothing.
I'm not thinking about anything. Literally, I'll say I'm thinking about nothing. She's like, "Is that even possible? Like, can you think about nothing?" I'm literally blank mind, just doing nothing. And it's good, because then when you do get up, you're a bit nice and clear. Your mind's fresh, and you're gonna. That's why having that nap after Zuhr, the qaylula, is sunnah, because it's like you've grafted in the morning. You're now gonna have a break. You're gonna go sleep. You're gonna wake up again, and it's like a new day now. And you're gonna. Otherwise, if you overwork yourself throughout, then you'll be tired by like 5-6 o'clock, and then 7-8 hours that you've got left, you're gonna waste it.
Because you look at people, like usually in India and stuff, you're used to napping after Zuhr. It's the normal thing.
Part of their routine.
Part of the routine. But those people, till the point they go sleep, you don't see them tired. Really active, always switched on. Like, you know, you like.
I've seen him some days at like 10 o'clock, and he's like, "What shall I say?" Whoa, you're barely awake.
You need to get
sometimes I said to him, I didn't get in my nap before class. Like half an hour nap before class, it'll keep me awake through class. If I don't sometimes miss it, that's it.
No, I know what you mean.
And that half an hour feels longer than the night sometimes. You know?
Well, you know, I used to, when I was working in Manchester, I used to, on the journey there, I used to do my Quran. On the journey back, I used to sleep. And if I didn't sleep,
that's it.
I couldn't, because you know sometimes the trains were completely jam packed. You're standing.
Brave thing to do. Why you stop there?
No, because the first stop was Manchester and the last stop was Bradford.
You could have. Someone would have come and walking and get out of here.
But actually, no, it wasn't actually. It was Leeds was the last stop. But there was sort of the end of that part of the journey in Bradford, and then the train changed to become the Leeds. So eventually something came up, and you ended up just getting up and getting off. But it was one of them. But I do think I'm a light sleeper, so I can still hear when I'm asleep. But I don't know. I suppose it's different for different people. But I think the key to what we're saying is that you have to have a routine. You have to have a routine. You have to figure it out yourself. Be your own operating system. Don't base what you need to do off some like 7 things to do this. You got to figure out how your life works, how your brain works. You got to figure it out yourself. Ustadh,
finishing off the podcast, final point, because you've been quiet for the last 20 minutes. I think you need to go somewhere.
Yeah.
So final points, and then inshallah we'll end.
Final points. So should we do a recap? Or?
Yeah, not we, you.
Right, so productivity.
Just to make sure he's been listening to what we've been saying.
What it comes down to then, first and foremost, is your motivation to begin.
Yeah.
We covered that. And then after that, another thing we didn't cover is that you need to look at the obstacles which you think are going to come, which might stop you from achieving.
That comes under planning, innit? When you're planning.
But we haven't discussed that.
Like if you talk about that,
discussing that before I
no, it's 9 o'clock, mate.
Yeah, so
Ustad's got 2 kids waiting for him at home.
right, so yeah, it comes down to that. After you're planning or during your planning, know or list down certain things which may disrupt you
Yeah,
in
maybe
fulfilling your
hurdles.
goal or meeting your end goal. And then your downtime, your own time is very important, because if you don't get that bit of time for yourself, you'll overwork yourself. And humans, for example, look at a machine. If it's not turned off, it's continuously on.
Yeah.
It'll blow up, or something will happen to it where it will have to restart or refresh, update itself. All computers, all phones do it. They need that downtime for that.
Like downtime is just one thing. Like till now, a lot of the elder generation, they've been working for 30, 40 years, and they got that, that 2, 3, 4 weeks off in a year.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they've had a year off. They don't know what to do with their time, because they were never used to having a downtime. They were never used to having their own time. Now it's kind of just you and your mind, and you don't know
What's going on.
What the hell you're doing. So it's important, because if you get yourself used to giving yourself downtime, then when something does happen,
exactly.
I can have a longer downtime now.
Yeah.
This project I'll be doing short, bit by bit, I can, actually, like you're saying, half-phase, I want to make sure I'm find that time. Same thing with this. There's going to be a time where you might lose your job. Or
you have to prioritize. This is what it comes down to.
I think that's why a lot of people during lockdown, especially now, a lot of people have been suffering because they never had that downtime.
Yeah.
Now they've got it, they don't know what to do. So
mentally
they're not there.
Yeah.
They don't know what to do.
And you expect the people around to solve that issue that you have, and then you drive them nuts. You drive yourself nuts, and then it just cause chaos in the house.
So alhamdulillah, it's been a good discussion. Some very, very interesting and important points raised by our panel. And inshallah, hope you learned something from this. You took away something from what the panel as well as myself had to say. And obviously this advice is first and foremost for Ustadh Umar. No, I'm alright. From what he started on, he definitely need to hear it. So no, the advice is first and foremost for ourselves, and then whoever else can it be useful for, then inshallah.
We'll see them next week.
We'll see them. Yeah. Inshallah, go on. He's proper excited.
Right. So our guest of honor next week, we're going to be in Manchester Guiding Sub, alhamdulillah, and our panel guest is going to be Sheikh Wasim Ahmed from Guiding Sub, and the topic.
Just leave the topic.
We'll leave the topic.
We'll leave that as a mistake.
And it'll be out. We'll have a poster out
in a couple of
during the week.
Yeah, during the week.
So after this nobody will have it on the. We'll have it in few days.
So stay tuned for that. Inshallah, it'll be a very good episode. And the topic which we have, which Shah has picked, is something which everybody should tune in for. Okay. So next week inshallah, stay tuned.
And if there's anybody who's watching and they want to be a guest and they've got an idea, they've got somewhat they've experienced, 100%. Get in contact is not.
It's not difficult. If you think, not even that, if you want to, or even if you think that you just want to come on one day and just have a chat, then just come on. We'll talk about.
Just don't come here and just sit and say nothing.
So like if there's any professionals watching, like for example any guys in mental health or anybody who works with children, for example, they want to talk about anything, come on and we can talk about it. And we need, sometimes we're not the best people to talk about everything. Everything in it. There's only
in everything.
We can talk about, to be honest, like sometimes this is again misunderstood as well. Like a scholar develops that ability in 6-7 years of studying where he is capable of talking about anything. Yes. And that's something people don't understand, because you read so many things. You can talk about, and like productivity, we're not time management people, we don't run courses or anything, but we can still have a conversation. And that's again something we picked up with our books and studying. So if there is anybody who's a professional or a specialist in any sort of field, then reach out to us, inshallah. You can come down if you want, you can wear a mask and everything, it's okay. And inshallah, Be in touch. Jazakallah for tuning in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all. Jazakallah especially to Ustadh Aleem for joining us, giving his time from his very, very busy schedule, as you've just heard. Ustadh, Allah bless you. Jazakallah for joining in. Jazakallah for everyone else to tune in as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Oh, finally, Jazakallah to our audio manager, Mr. Munib, and our behind the scene workers, Mr. Ayaz as well, for helping out. They do this every week.
The tea cold though.
Yeah. Every week he's here on Friday and he's here on Sundays as well. Sometimes, Ustadh, what it is these people who do the behind the scenes work, it gets brushed under the carpet. Yeah, these are the people that actually make these podcasts available for you.
They are the backbone of Ihya, and anything else what we do, these are the people who make it happen.
So as well as remembering us in your dua, make sure you remember them in your duas as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you as well. And it's fun, yeah.
Like, share, and subscribe first of all, and follow everyone on Instagram. Yes, right.
Tika, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Tuning out.